like, I think it's such a critical thing to find the who's the expert in that task, which is what you guys are, to go and find this great talent overseas, A plus talent for 24 to $36,000 a year, which is a drop in the bucket compared to what it costs to hire somebody locally.
Hi, I'm Tim Bratz, and every week I sit down with the top influential entrepreneurs in the country to discuss how to leave a true legacy in all things happiness, health, wealth, and wisdom. This is the Legacy Podcast.
Hey, y'all, welcome to the Legacy Podcast. Today, I am here with Nick Guerrero and Angelica Cemor, and we are hanging out talking about hiring virtual assistants. So they're the co-founders of 2Elevate, which is a firm that helps hire international talent at lower than US pricing, right? But very high quality talent in virtual assistants all around the world. And so it's a way that you can really build out a team, a very high quality team at a much lower price point than what you would have to pay domestically with hiring someone. And so there's some great resources, great ideas that we were talking about off screen that I want to dive into with you guys. So welcome to the Legacy Podcast.
Hi,
Thank you so much. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yes. So as you said, we are 2Elevate, and we are a company in the United States. Just for your peace of mind and everyone who's watching this, we're a company, an official company in the United States that help business owners in the US connect with remote talent to save time and, of course, money. The number one cost in most of the businesses, of course, is the talent. So why not take advantage of overseas workforce just at a fraction of the cost, great quality? And just to clarify this, we only match business owners with the talent in the same time zone, right? And so in the Americas, not in different time zone, because of course we also want to work with people that feel good, that have the time to rest, right? So that difference from other virtual systems that I'm pretty sure is great, but they are located in way different time zones. So that makes it a little bit difficult with the communications and the long-term relationship that it's especially what we want to build.
Mm-hmm. I love it. So why don't we talk a little bit about like how you guys got started in this business and how it's evolved over the past several years. I know that there's a lot of stuff going on with VAs, and now there's AI agents and some other types of resources that are out there. I'd like to talk about how the industry has kind of evolved and where you see it going. And then I want to dive into actually like hiring somebody and training somebody and screening these folks, and then how to best measure their performance and all the best practices from a business owner standpoint.
That's great. All right. I'm going to explain you, like, I met Angelica like 2.5 years ago. Yeah. And we become best friends. And like, I had this marketing agency. I saw that she was working like a lot on social media with some other people. So I asked her to join me. And at some point, she was working with this guy. You probably know him, is Gunnar from, Gunnar made this brand. And I think you can continue because it's better when you tell the story. I mean,
Yes, sure. So all my life I've worked as, a remote professional. I've actually never worked in person. So I had the opportunity to meet Gunnar. Actually, I was screened, so to say. I was placed to work with Gunnar by Q. So she saw the talent and she said, okay, this is the person that you have to work with. This is the person that's going to hold you accountable. And then when Gunnar saw the quality of it, of course, he saw, this necessity in the community. Hey, people really need this service. People really need to be connected with remote professionals that are not so expensive, but they are really good quality. Do you have friends? Do you have people that are as good as you are? And so it is as simple as that. That's the way the business started. We decided to
create this service,
Yes.
right? And try to test it. And we started with us, like, okay, what a virtual assistant is it that we need? And we thought maybe a executive assistant, right? So Gunnar actually was the one that referred to us, our first client.
Yes.
And we started working with him. And at some point we realized, hey, this is bigger than what we are working with the agency, right? So we started dedicating more time to this business. Then we gave it a name, which was To Elevate, because, delegate to elevate, right? So we started working on that. And that's kind of the way we started to grow. We started to try not to have a lot of clients, but making things right at the beginning, And that's the way we started to scale. We got more referrals, more clients. We started to create more content and stuff. And yeah, people is being great. They love the service. And it's been a great journey. And well, I think that's it. You want to add something else?
Yeah, no, we just try to serve the clients that we're working with right now with the best quality talent. I know that it's kind of complicated. We like to say that it's like a relationship.
Yeah, I love it. What would you say are the easiest tasks or the easiest responsibilities to delegate to a virtual assistant? Right? As a business owner, like what are the main things that you see virtual assistants really, really excel at?
Okay.
Yes. Not only, we don't like to do it from the virtual assistant part, we like to do it from the business owner part. So the first exercise that we ask any business owner that we interview with is, have you audited your time? Have you find those, dragging tasks? Have you find those draining energy, low leverage task in your day-to-day? It's very annoying to do this. You don't need to do it all the time, but at least once a week, right? One day, right? We did it, for example, in a cruise ship. Are you able to audit every 5 minutes or every 30 minutes how you're spending your time, and more important, how you're spending your energy? Usually the tasks that we find that are more recurring is calendar, right? It's things that are also simple for a remote person to fulfill, as long as there is good communication. And this is also something that we like to clarify. If you are going to hire somebody to find excuses, not to give them the tool to complete the job, is like you just hire a cook and you tell them, okay, prepare this dish, but I'm not giving you any ingredients. It's not going to make sense. And if it's going to be just another thing that you are, just an excuse, like, no, didn't work for my business, it's not going to be for you, right? You need to have really good communication. Once you have audited those tasks in your life or in your business that are not they don't bring a lot of revenue in your business, they don't bring a lot of revenue in your life, they drain a lot of attention in your life as a business owner, then we take those tasks, we try to just convert them into one profile for a talent, and then we look for the talent. You can find talent from finances, you can find talent even in law firm, like an assistant for a law firm. You can find talent for closers, you can find for customer support, cold calling, even in the real estate, for example, to be able to follow up with prospects, to be able to follow up with tenants, to be able to communicate with constructors or people that you work with, because this is talent that speaks both English and Spanish. And I know people feel a little bit hesitant about this, but it comes very handy, especially when you're working in the United States. And in real estate business, it is very, very handy to have a fraction of the cost, somebody that has, these two languages that they can help you and your business expand.
Yes, and in my case, something that helped me a lot, like I was able to gain a lot of time back when I delegated a lot of things related to social media, right? Like creating scripts, editing, posting, and being like alert on everything that happens on social media. I just had to record and that's it, and give feedback. So I gained so much time back. So it depends on every person. Every person is different. Of course, there are some things that are common for everyone, but yeah, it depends. They have to audit their time and see what is it that they can delegate.
I love it. Yeah. So one of the things that I've done to audit my time is I just took a simple Excel spreadsheet, and I just labeled it the 7 days of the week, along with starting at 6 o'clock in the morning when I typically wake up to 10, 11 o'clock at night when I typically go to bed. And then every 15 minutes, I would write in what I would do during that time. And so sometimes it would be, woke up, got the kids ready, had breakfast, drove them to school, took the dog for a walk, and then like non-revenue generating things, but things that I enjoy doing and really love to do. Right. And then when really the business stuff, right? I'm checking social media, or I'm um, sending out some emails, replying to messages, like all those kinds of things, planning a calendar or a podcast, or getting on and scheduling a flight and a hotel, and like all these different kinds of things.
Yeah.
Many of them are business related, but not revenue generating activities. And I think by going through that exercise, it creates the awareness. And even if it does make money for you. Like one of the things that I did is I'd go back after the whole week. This is a standard work week. I'd go back, and then I'd either put a zero if it didn't make money, or I'd put a dollar sign, or maybe I'd even value it by, this is a $10 an hour task, $100 an hour task, or $1,000 an hour task. And that then shows me where I should be spending my time as the business owner on the highest revenue generating activities, and then staffing out everything else. And so that then becomes the roles, the responsibility, the job description for the virtual assistant that you're talking about. Would you say that there's limitations on what a virtual assistant can do? Like assuming, I think that the standard is, hey, if it's a repetitive task, or if it's something that doesn't need necessarily like strategic thinking or decision making or problem solving mindset, like the repetitive tasks and that easier stuff is what you should designate to a virtual assistant. But that's not necessarily the case, right? Like there's some virtual assistants with MBA degrees and college degrees that are very, very sophisticated in problem solving if they're trained properly. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, absolutely. If you want, you can go ahead.
Yeah. So we based our work on this book from Dan Martell, Buy Back Your Time, and he works with this delegation ladder. So he says that the first thing you have to delegate is admin task, right? And this is like if you're talking of what a business owner needs to delegate to gain time back, right? So admin task first, then it goes to everything related to operation, right? Then you can go to marketing, and then sales task, and at
Finally,
the
leadership.
final level, you have leadership, right? So it goes that way, but it depends on whatever you need, but also what the company needs, right? Because if you're talking of someone to help you, of course, you can delegate anything that someone else could do in front of a computer or through a phone. But if your business needs someone like in customer support, that's also someone that you can hire overseas, and it's not going to be like working with you the whole time. It's going to just be working on customer support, right? So it depends on what is it that you need or the business needs, okay?
We usually work with virtual assistants who have gone to college. And this is not to exclude other. We have also worked with virtual assistants who have not gone to college, and they are marvelous. They are great, just because they have had, this rough experience in life where they have to fight for experience, and they have had also the experience in working environments where they have to grow, right? But we like this experience from college because, that part of solving problems, that part of dealing with professors, that part of going, through different challenges, I think it gives a lot in the work environment as well. And yes, you can have virtual assistants that have MBA, you can have virtual assistants that have post degrees as well. We like to do this interview with a business owner so we know what kind of profile you are as a business owner. We know the stage of your business, your style, and not only the qualifications that the virtual assistant needs to have, but also the attitude and the attitude that the person needs to have, right? It's not the same when you are a business owner who is, very hands-on work, and you don't like to delegate a lot. You're probably gonna need somebody who is also, like foot on the ground, and it puts you and holds you accountable and tells you, hey, you are not giving me the things that I need to complete my job. So what's going on, right? You need to stop getting on the way so I can complete my job properly, right? So based on that very first interview that we have with the business owner, we are able to decide what kind of virtual assistant we need. Do we need the decision maker? Do you want the decision maker? Because sometimes, yes, we want the decision maker, but are you able to handle the decision maker? Are you able to delegate? Do you actually want to delegate? Or do you just need customer support? Of course, for customer support, we don't need a lot. Although we tend to think that in all positions, we're always going to need the thinker, right? This is something that we value a lot. Because if you are in customer support, you can still, give a lot of ideas. You can still bring things to the table and say, hey, our tenants are saying this and this and that. What's going on in that department? How can we improve this? How can we improve that? Although it's very operational and it's very repetitive, like you just need to take phone calls, right? But you are always going to need, that thinker person that bring things up to you when you are not there to see, because we only have two eyes and just limited focus and limited attention, right? So we always try to prioritize people that have, this attitude and values that are aligned with your business or your person.
Love that.
This episode of the Legacy Podcast is brought to you by Smart Management Property Management Software. If you own rentals or operate a real estate business, you don't need more deals. You need more clarity. Most operators are leaving money on the table, not because the asset is bad, but because the operations are loose. Rents, expenses, payroll, maintenance, it's all spread across systems, spreadsheets, and inboxes. Smart Management brings that together in one place. It gives you real-time visibility into your cash flow and operations so you can tighten up what's already working. When you see the leaks, you fix them. And that's how you make more money on the properties you already own. No guesswork, no waiting on reports, just cleaner data and better decisions. If you want to run a tighter operation and pull more profit out of your existing portfolio, check out Smart Management. Links in the description. Now, back to the episode.
What is it actually? Let's talk about entry-level admin tasks. What does it cost to hire somebody in a virtual assistant realm in that regard, right? Like if I wanted to hire somebody locally, it would probably cost, I don't even know, $40,000 to $70,000, $40,000 to $60,000, something like that, domestically in the U.S. with somebody who's local. What does that look like from a VA standpoint? Like just to put things in perspective for our listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. We try to simplify things also because we want to build a reputation in our community in Charleston. So right now, any virtual assistant that you need can cost you from $2,000 to $3,000 a month. It's just as simple as that. It's very affordable. And of course, we can talk about it more in detail once we have the interview specifically with the business owner. But let's say a virtual assistant or remote professional that is only going to handle, calendars, that is going to handle your meetings, that is going to handle your email, that is going to handle your inbox, that is going to handle, the delivery for Amazon, because nobody's going to be in the house. That things happen all the time. We know that we love Amazon, right? That kind of virtual assistant can cost you as little as $2,000 a month. Very affordable for you to start, for any business to start, right? So we don't have any excuses. You don't need to be a solopreneur. You can also be an entrepreneur once you build that team that it's able to, free up your time and free up your focus, right? Because we cannot be on everything at the same time.
So that's amazing, by the way, from a standpoint of, when you say it can go up to $3,000 a month for a VA, is that someone with, I don't know, like what if I needed to hire an accounting expert or somebody who really understood, some sort of marketing deployment or email marketing, or maybe some more strategic knowledge and hire educated tasks, right? Like, is that closer to 3,000 or does that go above that?
No, it doesn't go above that.
It's still between that range.
It's still between that range. Yes, exactly. So the highest that it can go is 3K. And even if you look for the highest, we'll still, for our legacy community, we'll give them a special discount. The whole first year, you only pay $2,500 a month. That's the
Wow.
whole first year. Yes, you pay only $2,500 a month. And so the difference, and I would like to think this as a difference. Of course, probably there are a lot of, you can go to Upwork, you can find a virtual assistant, through your friend. Of course, the market is huge, right? And the professionals out there, even we get surprised from time to time when we interview, which is a process that we do every week, right? But the difference is that we set up the tone the first month. So our team goes into a weekly meeting with the business owner and the talent to make sure that things are going the right way, to make sure the business owner is delegated, is letting go of tasks, is giving the tools, and to make sure that the talent actually grasps the idea of what she needs to do, and it's up to the task, right? Are we having good communications? Are we having touch base? Because again, this cook without ingredients is not going to work, right? So different from, a virtual assistant that you can hire from Upwork that you don't know if it's fully integrated in your business. Our virtual assistants are not side hustlers, right? We pay really good salaries so that the person is fully focused on your business, so that the person's full attention is on your business, right? So that the person can bring solutions to your business and not paying attention to so many different businesses at the same time that they cannot give their best to one.
It's not the same having like a freelancer working for 10 or 15 clients at the same time, but having just one. So that's focus, right? And that's what you want. Someone that is already working with you.
Yeah, Scott said once something that it was, really interesting to me, that when you hire somebody part-time, which you can through us, but up to some point you have to go full-time. When you hire somebody part-time, you also get part-time attention, right? When you hire somebody that is a side hustler, you get, I don't know, 1% of their attention, 2% of their attention, because of course, right, they need to survive. They are in survival mode. So they are trying to cover so many different things. We make sure that this person is only dedicated to you and your business.
I love that. What would you say are the top, 3 mistakes that business owners make when they're hiring virtual assistants? If there's a handful of things that always happen, that are always mess ups that you see over and over and over again, that would eliminate 80 or 90% of the headaches that business owners have with virtual assistants, what are a couple of those like really, really key things to pay attention to?
I'd like to start with an example, and then you can go. I know that you want to answer this. I love buying things, right? I pay the gym, but then I don't go to the gym. I pay the facial cream and then I buy it, but then I don't apply it. And so because it's so easy to buy things and money is so easy to get these days, that we think that because we pay for something, that's going to be the solution, right? So I would say that the first thing is to think that because you hire somebody, that's going to be the solution. No. You have to pay somebody, but then you have to give them the tools, right? And I would say that the number one tool would be communication. That's the number one mistake, right? When you are in an office, it's very simple because you see the person. When you are working with somebody or a team overseas, communication has to be 10x, right? Not only from your part, from the business part, this is also from the talent part, but it's communication, it's both way thing, right? So sometimes it happens that our virtual assistant try to communicate and try to step in, but there is no answer on the other side. Again, that is not going to work. So I would say that is the number one. Then you can go ahead with the rest.
All right, cool. I was thinking that was the first one, of course. If I have to say another one, I would say in the process of delegation, you have to create SOPs, and you can create those SOPs by yourself or get the VA to make those SOPs. But there is a system, there is a process to create those SOPs. So very important also create checklist. I love checklist. That's something that keeps you really accountable on everything that you have to do, right? And if the VA has this checklist, there's less chance for an error to happen, right?
Yeah. And then I would say the third thing, or the third aspect would be actually, trust in the process. Usually gets 90 days for the person to be fully integrated in your business, for the person to be, fully knowledgeable of how you like to do things, what kind of style of communication you have, who do they have to go through if they are in a specific issue. But you have to give them the tools. You have to give them that space to make mistakes. You have to give them the tools for them to grow professionally or to get a full grasp of, your company or your style if the person is only working with one business owner and not the whole team. So I would say that the three things are, communication, processes, and then trust, or give them the tools.
It's so, like you think things are going to be different, right? When you're hiring somebody who's virtual or overseas versus hiring somebody locally, but it's the same stuff. Like we got to communicate. You got to screen them. You have to communicate with them. You have to train them. You have to give them standard operating procedures or checklists or ways to keep them inside the lines and focus on the activities that actually matter. And you have to ongoingly support and communicate. And it's not going to be an overnight process. It's going to take every bit of 90 days with whether they're local and domestic or they're overseas and a virtual assistant. And there's ongoing measurement and making sure that tasks are being done and all those kinds of things. Like, it doesn't matter who the employee is, doesn't matter where that employee is. It's all the same fundamentals that you got to pursue. And I think that's
you have to empower them.
Yes, absolutely. And think about it, for example, during COVID, or think about it, any remote employee that you have in the US right now, it would work the same thing. It doesn't matter if it is remote in the US or it doesn't matter if it is remote in South America. They're still part of your team. And if you want them to bring revenue, whatever, if they are sweeping floors or if they are doing something in front of the computer or if they are doing something strategic to your business, you still have to make them, integrated in your team. And definitely ignoring them or not giving them the tools is not a great way to do it.
What does it have to be the same repetitive tasks? Like, could tasks change on a monthly basis on, hey, this month I want to be on 15 podcasts. Go and get me on 15 podcasts. It's a new thing and I might not want to do it in 60 days because I'm an entrepreneur and I chase shiny objects and I'm trying to figure out things, right? But like, can I change those tasks and are they pretty open to that and flexible?
That's completely natural. It happens all the time. I mean, we just did it yesterday. we have our own BA, so we had to change their like Tuesdays and Thursdays. Yeah, she can do other type of tasks because the business always grows and changes. So the task will change too. So it's completely normal, natural that everything changes.
Yeah, something that we like to say that our VAs, which by the way, we have monthly meetings, check-in meetings with each of our VAs and as a group, as an individual, is make sure that you're holding your business owner accountable, right? The business owner has limited focus. They're not gods on earth, right? They don't have everything figured out. You also have to make sure that they are auditing their time. You also have to make sure that from time to time, you get your head out of the bucket, out of the task that you need to complete. And you also have a critical point of view of, hey, how you're spending your time, how the business is doing. Because we like to say that not behind the business owner is a person. In front of the business owner, there is a person. So we also need to serve the person. We also need to protect the person's energy. We need to protect the person's interest, right? So we encourage them to tell the business owners, hey, are we auditing our time? Is this still something that you want me to do? Because I don't think, this is bringing, this is not being good for the business. What about if we do this thing differently? So yes, it changes all the time and our virtual systems are capable to adapting to those changes.
I love this. So it gets me really excited, right? Because there's so many things. Like for me personally, I had an executive assistant, and in a positive way, right? I always lose my executive assistant because I promote them into another role in the company. And now they're handling operations, or they're an asset manager, or they're a regional property manager, or they're involved in other capacities, or they're my COO, or they're my director of marketing, or like whatever it is. And so I keep on losing my virtual assistant, or not my virtual assistant, but I lose my personal executive assistants. And I think there are certain myths that come around hiring someone internationally or somebody who's not local and can be held accountable and be arrested for stealing money or something like that, right? So let's talk. I want to hit you with a couple of questions about common myths or objections that might happen in a business owner's mind when hiring a virtual assistant. All right. So first one is, if I give them access to my email, how do we make sure that they don't mess it up, or they're providing proper, like they're sending me the emails that actually matter, they're being a proper gatekeeper for the ones that don't matter? Like, how do we figure that out, and can they be trusted with my email?
Yeah, like any relationship, right? You don't go on a date for the first time with a girl and you give them your password for your bank account, right? So it is a process, right? You can start with small things, right? But we also, just as a business, from a business point of view, right, we sign an NDA at the beginning of our relationship, right? So first of all, you get to interview. You are going to be the one who's going to be in this relationship with, the person that is going to be working with you. So you get to pick. We give you options and you get to pick, right? Whatever you feel that is best fit for you, you choose that person, and that person starts working with you. Then
also, these people are trained,
yes,
pre-trained. Like we have a school community just for VAs, and we have like several courses here, and one of those are email management. So yeah, they have like a training on how to work with your email, right? But then when you start working with the VA, you can say something like, hey, I want my inbox organized this way, so they can take that in account.
Yes, from the security point of view, we sign an NDA with you, right? So we have a relationship business to business, we sign an NDA, and then we sign an NDA business to talent. So your data, your client's data, and your client's data is protected, right? We also have insurance, so that you feel, any business owner can feel, peace of mind that you are doing business who laws or follows the U.S. law, right? So we have the insurance, we are business owner properly filing the United States.
I love that. Yeah, I think like the accounting side keeps on popping up in my mind too. Of
yes.
You could hire an accountant to come in, but I kind of like having third-party accounting because they have their own insurance, they have their own requirements and all that kind of stuff that kind of holds them a little bit more accountable. But you're saying you have that for these VAs, and so if they did something and the claim needed to be filed, there's definitely coverage there on that side of things.
Yeah.
Does that cover
Absolutely.
on the financial side of things? Like if you gave them your credit card and you gave them a bank account in order to start moving money around or paying bills or ordering things on Amazon or ordering flowers for your wife, right? All those.
Yeah.
And then they took
Absolutely.
it and bought a bunch of stuff on Amazon for themselves, right? Like that would.
Yes, absolutely. Actually, there is a funny story there. Again, I was an assistant for Gunner, and good thing about having somebody with some geographical distance is that the geographical distance can also provide you with some, let's say, personal distance, right? So our professionals are very respectful about your data and about the finances. What I didn't know when I was working with Gunner is that he gave me a card that had a limit. He said this afterwards. I didn't know, right? Because I never used it. I never exceeded that limit. Of course, there was no way for me to know, but he said at the beginning, I just gave her a card or a monthly expense of 100 because she was only going to use that 100. So it was good for me, and it's good for any business owner to set up those rules. What's your tolerance? That doesn't mean that the person is going to start using that card for Uber that we have here, right? We make sure that the person understands, that the person respects, and the person also understands the consequences of doing these kind of actions with your business owner, with any business owner. But it's also from your point of view, again, that you give them the tools, the limited freedom for them to use those elements that they need to use to complete their job, but you also protect yourself, right? You're not going to give them a bank account that has 1 million. I mean, let's be prudent, right? At the beginning, right? Let's have a little bit of common sense. Like any relationship, it goes over time. Some of our virtual assistant manages all the different bank accounts for the business owner, but that comes with time. It didn't happen the day after they were hired. That's for sure.
And you can set up that from the beginning. Like you can say, okay, I'm gonna give you permission to spend until $20 or $50, so you don't have to come
to me for approval. Yeah.
For $10 problems. Okay. So for example, hey, do I buy this tool which costs $10 per month? Hey, that's a $10 problem. Do it, right? But if something above $50, maybe you want them to tell you, right?
Whatever you feel comfortable with. Absolutely.
I love it. I love it. Are there certain roles or are there certain roles, responsibilities that a virtual assistant would not be the right answer for?
Anything that is in person, I would say yes. So for example, if you're in real estate, so to say, right? I know that there are a lot of, real estate investors that are probably watching this, and you need somebody to go into a property to take pictures. Of course, a virtual assistant cannot do that, right? But whatever that you can think of, and whatever that you did, for example, during COVID with your team remotely, it's something that a virtual assistant can for sure do overseas. There is not going to be limitations on that. So think about, of course, the things that bring happiness to you and that only you can do as a business owner. Only you can be with your family. Only you can walk your dog. Only you can do things that bring, that happiness to you. And then what are things that only my team on site can do? Yeah. The rest, the sky's the limit. There is no limit.
How about licensing, like law degrees or accounting degrees and things where you need like a specific licensing or accreditation in order to complete those activities? Are those things that could be found overseas as well?
Yeah, you can be the assistant, but you cannot do, like, at the end of the line, you have to have someone that's going to do that work, like maybe check that everything is all right.
There is something that is very common, for example, in the law, now that you put that example, for law firms in the United States, for example, that they are working with immigration or, divorce or whatever, they have a lot of paralegal, and this is something that is very famous. They have, hundreds of paralegal overseas. They build the case, they file all the different documents, they organize the documents, they do all this, prearrangement before the case is presented to whatever place that you need to present it. Once it's going to be presented, the person licensed in the United States needs to approve, right? Mm-hmm. But the person just checks, make sure that it's all go by the law, make sure that, whatever the person is signing, it is up to the task, up to the quality, up to the standard that they would, normally file in the United States. So you would need somebody that is licensed, but, all the different tasks, all the different procedures from building that, for example, in financial, right? You can have it overseas. Why not?
I love it.
Back to saving time and money.
Yes.
Yep. I love it. I love it. That's fantastic. So like, what does the process look like if somebody wants to hire a VA? So and we'll kind of wrap up with this, but because here's the thing. There's a lot of services out there. People can go and find services and find VAs and maybe be direct to the VA, but then they have to go through the whole process of reviewing and applying. Yeah, it becomes more on their plate instead of less on their plate. And so to be able to work with you guys, and by the way, for all of our listeners, Nick and Angelica have been members of our community for several years now, and we've known them. Gunnar, that they keep on referring to, is a good buddy of mine, a personal trainer here in the Charleston, South Carolina area. Q is one of my business partners in another company that we have, and so like these are people who have been working with Nick and Angelica for a long time, and I've known them just through our legacy community and several other people who work with them, and nothing but 5-star reviews. So it's been awesome to have you guys part of the community. But like, find the who to do the how, right? I always find the who to do the what. Find the who to go out and find the VAs, to go out and train the VAs, to go and present the top 3, 4, 5 VAs to you, and make sure that they're qualified to do the tasks that you want, to make sure that they have the core values, they have the mindset, the attitude makes sense and aligns with what you're looking for. And then can ensure that there's a medium who can help with the communication and making sure that these insurances are in place and all these other things. Like, I think it's such a critical thing to find the who's the expert in that task, which is what you guys are, to go and find this great talent overseas and then bring them to domestic business owners here in the US, and allows us to then get on A+ talent for $24,000 to $36,000 a year, which is a drop in the bucket compared to what it costs to hire somebody locally. So I think it's absolutely awesome. But like, what does that process look like? So if somebody reaches out to you and they say, hey, I'm looking for a virtual assistant to be an executive assistant, or to help with the accounting side of things, or to do a bunch of marketing outreach, like, what does that process look like?
Okay, the process is very simple. Like, if you want a VA, just go to our website, to elevate.com, and you can schedule a meeting with us, or you can write to us through our phone, WhatsApp, or whatever. And we set up a meeting. And in that meeting, we try to get to know the business owner and see what is it that this business owner needs. So we make a list of that. We try to look for what's the type of person he likes to work with, and if he has worked before with remote talent, right? So after that, if this person wants to start working with us, we start looking for these people, and we already have like a database, because we interview people every 2 weeks just to grow this database and have people ready to start. And as I told you before, we have this community-owned school to train BAs. So we try to match that business owner with the right candidate to work with them. So we look in our database, we interview more people if we need to. And when we have the top two candidates, we set a meeting with the business owner, we present it, and the business owner can just ask their questions and, try to find who is the best match for him, right? Or for her. And that's how it works. Then we go to an onboarding month. So it's weekly meetings where we come in and we try to keep both parts responsible, accountable, that the VA have access to do whatever he needs to do, and the business owner is delegating all the tasks that he needs to delegate, and it's delegating the right way. So communication, very important in this part. But like in the third week, they are already working very well, and for the next month, things are running kind of smoothly.
Yeah, so it's a very simple process. By the way, we're also working with CLA Turnkey.
I love it. That's my management company. Or one of our
yes.
Yeah. No, I love it. So the weekly meetings that you guys assist with, once somebody's hired, it's every week for what, a month?
Yes, it's every week for a month. Yes,
just to make sure everything's firing on all cylinders, and then as needed,
Yes, we make sure that we're all aligned. Exactly. We make sure. Usually, there is willingness on this part from the talent part, but of course, it's a new relationship. So the talent is not going to be as aggressive when it comes to demanding things. So we need to make sure that, again, we buy the cream, but we put on the cream. We pay the gym, but we also go to the gym, right? It's not only, yes, I hired the talent, and now I expect them to read my mind. I expect them to have access to all my different assets, whatever they need to complete their job. No, I also need to take some time to give them the tools that they need.
Yeah, and we just implemented this monthly qualification system where you get, as a business owner, an email or a message and you can qualify the service. So if you're not completely happy with the service, you can tell us and we can try to fix things, any concern before it becomes a problem, right?
Yes.
I love it. Well, you guys are super proactive on this stuff. I know we're using you guys in several capacities, and I know several other folks who are too, and are super happy with what they're getting out of it. So appreciate you guys. It's super cool to watch your business, watch it continue to grow, see how excited you guys get about it. And I know you're on a path of just like making things happen. And so it was awesome to spend some time with you guys last month on the cruise, dive in deep into the business, and position you guys for big things to come. So I'm excited to continue watch the growth. Best place for people to reach out to you is toelevate.com.
Yeah.
Yes, to elevate.com or my phone number 434-373-0970. Remember that you can hire somebody overseas for a fraction of the cost for whatever task that can be done in front of a computer. There is an additional thing I know that you mentioned in one of the things that you wanted to talk about before we wrap up about the AI, right? AI is a great tool. You can have it implemented alongside with a VA. If you don't have the capacity for whatever reason to bring in a VA, we can help you implement AI systems for, let's say, for example, if you need somebody just to pick up the phone once somebody calls your business, you can have an AI assistant in your business as well. But let's say the jacked combo would be to have, a VA with AI to help your business thrive and grow even faster.
I love it. I love it. Utilizing it as a tool, not as
We still
an opponent,
serve
right?
people.
Or
Yes.
competitor, right?
Absolutely. We serve people. People like to do business with people. You can have it again as a tool, but it's not going to replace, not anytime soon, I don't think. I think actually, the market is going the other way where we start to value a little bit more, that human interaction. So again, you can have it an
I agree.
accessory. Yes, you can have it as an accessory in your business. I think, it's really helpful, for example, after hour service, overnight service, why not? But I don't think it's going to replace. So we'll just give them the option. Why not? Sometimes, even for affordable prices, it's not still an option. So you can have it even for a little bit more affordable prices, the AI, and you can get started delegating some different things in your business.
I love it. I love it. No, I think everything's lining up. I think you guys are poised for a lot of growth. It's a really, really cool business to see and watch you guys grow, and you're making a big impact on a lot of business owners. So it's well deserved. But I appreciate you guys. We'll make sure that
Thank
you're tagged
you.
in all the show notes and make sure that our listeners have your contact information in order to connect with you directly on any of their VA needs. And we appreciate you guys being here. Thank you guys for being on the Legacy Podcast. Make sure you're reaching out to Angelica and Nick and make sure that as you're growing your business, you're implementing these different services and tools and things in place to buy back a little bit of time, to remove some of the headaches and create more efficiencies in your business. So that way you can scale your rental portfolio, your traditional business in ways that you wouldn't be able to otherwise. So appreciate you guys being here on the Legacy Podcast. We'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye. Have a great week.